Hello ladies, gentlemen and troglodytes. This is a question for all of you gamers out there. I'm asking, what got you into the gaming you now play? So that could be tabletop wargaming like Warhammer, Infinity, Malifaux. It could be role-playing games around the table with your buddies. You know, it could be anything that you define as gaming. And I'm interested in what your gateway experience was, what that one element was that switched a part of your brain on to make you say, yes, you know what, I'm a gamer, I like this, this is going to define who I am, this is going to define my choices into my later years, in some cases 20s, in some cases 30s, in some cases 40s, 50s onwards. Also, if you could share visually, like if it's response video, show us a picture of what it is. Tell us about it. Is it still in production / print? You know, why did you like it? So I'll tell you what got me into things. So I suppose it was a combination of things. In my younger years, the idea of escapism and fantasy was set very much in place because of movies like Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans, of course, and that really put things in place. In fact, you can see that Clash of the Titans and those movies had a great effect on my Their Fated Travels series, especially the Trial of the Gods chapter, where Dieter is literally put on trial by the gods, that sort of mortal and gods interaction thing. Then there was the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon that really started to implant into my psyche the idea of class distinctions and roles and things like that in the party. You've got the wizard, you've got the archer and the things, and of course that was just picking up on their massive surge of popularity for Dungeons and Dragons at the time, because I was too young to play D&D. I was only born in 1980, and of course that was on in the 80s, that cartoon, so I just had to appreciate it that way. So my particular gateway into actual gaming, aside from just things I saw, was the books series, the fighting fantasy books that was published by Puffin, written by Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson. They did like 70 of them or so. I think I've played them all quite obsessively from my single-digit years right up until my 20s. Here's one of them now, in fact. This is by Ian Livingstone, Armies of Death. This was one of my favourites, I think, because it really came out of the box of its genre. Instead of just controlling a hero in your solo choose-your-own-adventure book, you get to control an army, literally, and you keep track of casualties and how many's left of each unit. So with a quick look inside, you can see that everything's got stats, and there's a Nandi bear and its skill and its stamina, so how many wounds it will take before it dies, and they lose 2 stamina for each hit unless you use luck, and it's kind of like a forced crit roll to make that happen. We've got an example here of the choose your own adventure type path, so there's that number in the book, the text, and then the choices, 3 choices, 3 pages to turn to as options. Now, it was really good that this was, of course, a solo adventure book series, because I was an only child, so it was the only way I could play games like that. Saying that, they did bring out the Clash of the Princes books, where there was 2 books to make up the one story, and one person had one book and one person played the other, and you read them at the same time and played through them. So the 2 princes were competing with each other, and so someone has to read the other book. I played that one against my father, and the 2 characters do interact with each other. You sort of leave references for each other by reading it, and then you pick up on the other person's reference. That was quite clever, the way they did the interaction with each other. And of course, these books, though, led the way for my role-playing game group-based experiences to come about. And what really did that for me was Steve Jackson Fighting Fantasy, and here's a really old copy of that. It's this really was more written as the group dynamic. It's kind of Dungeons and Dragons light, if you like. So it uses the fighting fantasy system of skill, stamina, luck, that sort of thing. Gives you an adventure, gives you the GM tips in there, lays out all the encounters in the room, gives you a GM map over all of all the rooms, but they're all laid out with the numbers so you can get to them quickly. It's nice, easily referenced, very nicely spaced. He gives like some indications of what might go wrong in the scene, just like is typical with all adventure books now. But this did it a very long time ago, and it was a nice ultimate entry level for a young child to play and get into. And then after this they then did the advanced fighting fantasy book series, which gave you more GM opportunities. They did Black Sand, they did a really cool one, which is probably my favourite of them all, the Riddling Reaver. So anyone who knows somebody that would like to get into it as a gateway experience into role-playing, I'd actually really advise those particular books for sure, if you can lay your hands on them. So that is my experience of how I got into gaming. So I would like to hear how you got into gaming and whatever you're into. So please drop me a reply, or even better still, leave me a response video. Show me what it was if you've still got it. I'll wait for your replies.